In terms of the process, intimacy is a process. What's involved in that? Well, there's a synchrony. It can be explicit and intentional, but it's often not. And I watched couples in these two chairs right behind me. I watched this happen. I watched their breathing sync up. I watched them begin to mirror each other in terms of their body posture. I watched them find synchrony in terms of their tone and their volume levels and their expressive levels. So in this process, there's a synchrony that is happening, a coming together. There's also need fulfillment. In the process of intimacy, if a need pops up from one person, the other person in an optimal environment is going to meet that need. And they're not going to see the meeting of that need as a distraction from what's going on in the relationship. So if I'm working with my wife on some project, okay, we're problem solving or we're planning or something like that, and in the midst of that, a need pops up for her, a real need that comes up from what we're doing. Maybe one of her old wounds gets activated or something like that. She has a need pop up. She needs clarity from me. She needs reassurance from me. She needs to be heard or to know that she's been heard, which is different than being heard, right? She needs the felt experience of being heard, maybe. I don't see that need emerging as an obstacle, as a distraction from what's going on. It's part of the process. So I meet that need. There's dynamic movement in this process. In other words, it's not like pedal to the metal toward intimacy all the time. It can't work that way. There's an ebb and there's a flow. There's the forward momentum, the speed, but also just, the sense of connection we have. If we're disconnected all the time, that's actually not very realistic. There's going to be times when we become apart a little bit, and it's okay. Maybe I've got this big thing at work. Maybe our kids are both sick and it's all we can do to get through the day and put our heads on the pillow at night, not at each other's throats, and we feel more disconnected, but it's the stage of life we're in. We're more disconnected than when the kids are well or whatever, but that doesn't mean we're fully disconnected. It's not a 0 or a 1. We're connected or we're not. There's an ebb and a flow. That's the dynamic movement of intimacy. It is emergent. It's not like, okay, we're going to sit down and we're going to create intimacy right now. That is rarely a good way to go. It emerges from other experiences. Participating in this process, the actual state of intimacy that we're going to look at in a moment emerges from the process, and even the process itself. When I say emergent, one of the things I mean is it's greater than the sum of the parts, right? That's why sometimes partners will complain, oh, well, he or she is just checking the boxes, because if the mindset is I can do A, then B, then C, then D in this formulaic way, and then we'll be intimate, but it's more than just the sum of the parts. It's something greater than that. Reciprocity is a part of this as well. It's got to be two-way. It's got to be give and take, a two-way street. We're going to talk a lot more about that. And it's also about attention. Or I have focus there in the parentheses. There are actually two ways that this could be understood. Your attention or your focus can be on each other. When I work with couples during intensives, they're often sitting in these two rolling chairs. I have them turn and face each other. They're looking at each other. Their focus is on each other a lot. 6 hours a day for 2 or 3 days in a row. Look at each other. Say that to him. Say that to her. Back and forth, back and forth. The focus is on each other. And that attention on one another is part of this process of intimacy. However, you can experience intimacy by sharing a focus outside of the dyad as well. And so this is why like a couple can watch a show together and feel connected. We watched The Chosen recently, which I just thoroughly loved. Probably the best dramatic portrayal of Jesus I've ever seen. I'd be watching and I'd look over, and if she's on her phone, it tweaked me. Now I have some tools to let go of that or whatever, but it did. Why? Because if our eyes are on the same thing and we're having a shared experience of this show, that feels connecting. Okay, so a shared focus, a shared attention. It can be each other, it can be a third thing. And it really, you need both. Some people, it's all, shared focus out there. You need some shared focus at each other. Although that's very vulnerable, I recognize and admit, and could take some, working up to it.